want to welcome everyone to the Buzzy Rocket Masterclass today. We're excited that you could all make it. Just a couple of things before we get started. So we're going to have about a 30-minute presentation by Debbie and Victoria with Buzzy Rocket, and then after that we will do a Q&A session. So if you have any questions at all during the presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A afterwards, or you can private message me them, whatever you're most comfortable with. We will be doing a couple of interactive polls during the presentation, so keep a lookout for those, and we'll also announce when those are going up. And this meeting will be recorded, so if anyone wants to rewatch it or share it with anyone, you can do that, and we'll make sure that it's emailed out to everyone, as it will be on our YouTube channel, so we'll make sure everyone has that link. So without further ado, I want to introduce Debbie and Victoria with Buzzy Rocket to give their masterclass today. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thanks for having us. We absolutely love CONNECTpreneur. This is our third or fourth masterclass. Those who have attended our previous ones know that we're pretty informal, but we do ask that you feel free to put notes or questions in the chat. But for the rest of it, we will have a question session at the end. My name is Debbie Klein, and Victoria Collins and I are the co-founders of Buzzy Rocket. We're a startup specialist. We've helped over 100 clients, so we absolutely love what we do, and we're thrilled to be here today. So we're not going to give much of a sales pitch. We're going to roll right into it. Great. So what you've signed up for today, hopefully you're at the right place, like we get on the plane and they say, hopefully you're all going to Florida. Words that wow. So how to transform your startup messaging from like okay to amazing. Hopefully your startup messaging is already okay. Or if you're creating it and you're not going from, oh my gosh, this is terrible, or we can't even create one, but we are going to do a little live exercise today. So that'll be a way to have you guys learn how to do it as you go. And we will share the deck afterwards, so no need to take notes. And as you know, there will be a recording that's shared also. Okay, great. So as I said, we focus on startups. I'm pretty sure that everybody on this call has had more than one entrepreneurial meltdown in which they're like, why? Why is this so difficult? My stuff is amazing. Why isn't everyone buying and investing? And why is it so hard to find people to work for us? First of all, you can do it. Being an entrepreneur involves, sometimes 98% pushing that rock uphill and 2% pure elation, but you absolutely can do it. However, your messaging is most often holding you back in ways that you don't realize. Your messaging, for those that aren't familiar with the term like messaging, this is we're going to go through an actual message framework, but your messaging integrates every single part of your organization. It's how you speak to a client for your elevator pitch. It's what you put on social media. It's how you speak to your internal clients, your employees. Everything about that message needs to be crisp, concise, clear. You need to absolutely have a single message and story to tell. One of the things you're going to see as we go through this is that everyone thinks their baby is the prettiest baby and can do the most tricks. And there's a sort of a compulsion, which is understandable, to talk about every feature, every function, every benefit. However, you can look at studies by Gartner, by Harvard Business Review, tons of them. There is a very steep downward curve with the number of messages, the number of topics in your message, and the ability to understand and retain that. So if people can't figure out what you do, that's a pretty big problem. Okay, so we're going to jump into it. So here are the top ways to screw up your messaging. And you might look at this and be like, yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Information overload, right? So I just spoke about that a little bit. You do not need to attempt to cram in everything in one core message. Making it about you is one that we see, I'd say 75% of the time. Nobody cares. People have a problem. If you think about people's, brains, it's very much like, what's in it for me? And how can I do this with the least amount of effort, whether that effort is money, time, whatever it may be. So if you make it about you, they just tune out. Please do not be unrealistic and say that, you know, if you use our software, like the ocean is going to be clean in 5 minutes, or whatever it is that you guys might do. So being unrealistic immediately pulls out any trust or credibility that you might already have or you hope to earn with that client. And being obtuse, you're going to see some examples of that in a minute. It's okay to do something kind of like catchy and fun for like an ad or a billboard or whatever it might be. Do not be obtuse. Let people know what you do so they can give you their money. Buzzword, blah, blah, blah. Again, you don't need to use the same words that everyone else is using and just string them along with lots of comments to make yourself sound very important or, you know, just, again, cramming too much in there. And then the fifth one, which is really one of the absolute most critical ones, we could do an entire masterclass about this. Talk to everyone versus someone. And what I'm speaking about here is your audience. So you have a target market you're going after, and that might be a combination of an industry, a geography, a type person. You do not want to have very wide, broad messaging that solves everything for everybody. The more and more and more narrow your target can be, the more successful you will be in the shortest amount of time. Doesn't mean that you might not have offerings or you know, solutions and benefits for a much broader group, but you have to start really narrow and you can go from there. Okay, so we're gonna do, these are like 1 minute each. We're gonna do some quick exercises, and Skylar is gonna throw up, just for maybe like 15 seconds, a really quick poll for you to answer. So here we go. What I'm gonna show you is a line and then a message from a real business. This is a real startup, okay? So what I'm going to want you to think about as you look at this, and I'm going to give you 4 choices in a minute. What do you think this business does? So if you just look at a new era of creation, all right, now let's give you the mucky stuff. You know, this immediately is like flux capacitor, but just go ahead and read that for a minute. Okay. Time for your poll. What do these guys sell? Do you think it is graphic image generation, a large language model for rocket design and space, virtual reality development software, or an augmented reality headset? So we're just going to give that a few minutes. And let's see if I can make my slides go backwards. Oh, the poll's going to stick in the middle of it either way. All right, that's all right. Doesn't matter. Okay, so just give it a quick guess. And Skylar, oh, just barely. Graphic image generation. So it's actually wonderful that 51% of you figured that out. However, I think this also makes it fairly clear that it is not simple. Hold on, I cannot see the chat, so I'm just gonna put this over here in case anyone's asking a specific question. You know, it's obvious at that point. It's not obvious what that business does. So let's try one more. A better you. We deliver a bold stride when you walk into a room and make sure that you walk out of the room with confidence, enabling you to be the best version of yourself, giving you a reason to smile about your success every day. Like, it sounds kind of good when you read it. Energizing shoes, whitening toothpaste, life coaching, or men's shapewear. I feel like I need the Jeopardy music here, but I'm not going to sing it. Let's see how we do on this one. Ha ha! Wait till you see the answer on this one, guys. This is men's shapewear. Yep. That's pretty painful if this is your business and you think, you know, no man will have a muffin top wearing my outfit, like my Skims for guys or whatever it is. This is not Skims, but and 3% of the market thinks that's what you do. It's, you know, back to that first slide, it's hard enough in the startup world to go uphill. You do not need to, you know, make that boulder any bigger. Okay, so there's a third one, but the reason we're doing the next one is that what I'm going to do is we're then going to get into sort of the magic of the messaging and how you do it. And then towards the end, I'm going to very quickly, I'm just going to pop out of slide mode into regular creator mode. And we're going to try and fix this one together quickly. So this is a modern digital platform. Give you a sec to read that one. And as you read this one, you'll notice, you know, in the 5 things that I spoke about, there's a lot of these sort of vague words that are just, you know, stronger results. And there's nothing wrong with any of these words, but when you put all of them just in one flowing sentence, all right, here comes the guess on this one. What do they sell? Is it a manufacturing platform, inventory management, a training platform, or an enterprise resource planning that's a financial systems platform? Okay. And then once we get the answer on this one, I will, we're going to move on. And then again, we'll pull this back up towards the end. Okay. Inventory management. So, again, not ideal. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. And as I said, we'll get back to that in a bit. I'm very slide challenged today. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the keys to good messaging, right? So we've certainly talked about and given some examples of what not to do, what's painful. Okay, I think we're all in agreement. You probably have seen enough yourself that you can understand that. All right, so here is, first of all, the right message and a messaging exercise does not have to be an extremely complicated, hire a $50,000 consultant and spend 6 months. You know, part of it is, especially you're a startup, you're not going to do that. So part of it is simple enough and easy enough to go ahead and do that yourself. Pieces of it, it might be helpful to have others help you with, but the right message is this simple. It's easy, 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 right? It's easy to understand. And when I say understand, by anybody in your target market, but yes, by anybody. It's easy to sell. If it's too complicated, or as you saw, if only 3% of the people even know what you're selling. So it needs to be easy to understand, easy to sell, easy to buy, easy to hire people because they're excited, and easy to raise money. So these are kind of the core things that a startup needs to do and needs to be easy. That's might seem too obvious, but it needs to be said. Okay, now what is the right messaging gonna address? What benefit are you delivering? Who are you delivering it to? Why can you deliver it best? So what benefit are you delivering also inherently means that you need to understand the problems and challenges faced by your target audience. You need to understand the who is your audience. And as I said, there's layers in there. You can do lots of different nuancing within your audience. Why can you deliver it best, or whatever whatever language works for your solution. This is really, how are you differentiating from the competition? And remember that the competition also includes doing nothing. You do not want to have to, going back to your target audience, you don't want to have to convince them that they have a problem and that you can solve it. So going a little bit deeper on that, you are not a mind reader. It's very easy to kind of drink the Kool-Aid and get all excited and be like, oh, well, this thing would be great for men who have muffin tops or for people that need to do inventory. And like, here's the type person and the type company. And you have no idea. You are, quite frankly, using a combination of your personal experience. A caveat to that, if you are an expert, you will have a bit more of an idea, but you don't know how they feel walking in their shoes. Another key to doing the messaging is that do not sit down with a whiteboard and just try and do it. 80% of this effort is research. You need to understand the 3 core areas to go. And what you want to do is like just mine this. You can go to actual market research. Now, this does not mean that you need to go buy $50,000 reports or even $2,000 reports. There's huge amounts of market research, even the market research that is expensive, I guess you could say. There's almost always a way to get sample pieces, and call us if you're having trouble trying to figure out how to do that research. Something that we've talked about in previous master classes is testimonials. Like, why people that have given you reference quotes, or if people have done reference calls, you can, any type of testimonial, go look at them and pull out what are the reasons these people are saying they chose your solution and the benefits they're receiving from them, right? So if somebody's like, wow, working with CONNECTpreneur, let me find my ideal investor in 2 weeks, and we've now, sold 8,000 widgets, like whatever it is, you can mine those, just grab a highlighter and pick out what words, phrases, problems, challenges, solutions that your audience, your existing customers, the prospects that you're having where you're losing deals, anything, mine those. And then competition. So we absolutely never, it is unethical. You should not go look at your competition's message and copy it. What we're speaking about here, and there are some actual frameworks you can use to fill out, but who's their target audience? What are the top 3 challenges they're solving? So this is not competitive research that's done for product research or other deep areas. This is specifically regarding to messaging. And, I think a lot of times we speak with people who say, oh, we don't have any competition. And we talk them off the ledge and explain that they do have some competition. And remember, though, competition's messaging doesn't have to be true. It's what they are saying. I could say to you, we've helped over 100 people buy couches, and we're the best couch selling business on earth. That doesn't mean it's true, but that is part of the message that they're putting out to the target audience. And the vast majority of people, and this is not an insult or stupidity, the vast majority of people will take it at face value. People are not going to say, please give me the source data proving that. So on competition, again, it's super, super important to really understand and then nuance what can you say we do not recommend ever bad-mouthing the competition either, but what can you highlight as an area that you know that you do better or deliver more value. Okay, so let's say we've done 80% of the research. Excellent. We're ready to do some writing here. I'm not going to speak to this whole thing. You are going to definitely, as I said, get this. But if I go from the top to the bottom, you're probably familiar with most of these, right? The target market, we've talked about that. The audience, the same thing, basically. There's a positioning strategy. Most people have heard of a unique value proposition. This is a lot of what we're speaking to today about using this sort of more generic term messaging. The clear statement, that's the benefit, how you solve their problem. This is generally speaking 1, sometimes 2 sentences. This is when you get, 20 seconds to tell somebody what you do. And remember, you want to say these things. You want to say them, tell them again, and then tell them what you've told them. Like this should be over and over again. We all understand an elevator pitch. Something that you may not be as familiar with is a painkiller. You might know the drink, the painkiller. That is not the one we're talking about here. Although I am going to the amazing Connect Tales event on October 1st, where I might be having a painkiller or other drink. So if anyone is going to be there, please shoot me a note. I'd love to connect. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about a painkiller versus a vitamin. It's very simple if you think of the actual words, right? Like, oh my gosh, I have a crushing headache. I can't even do this masterclass. I want to shut my eyes and lie down. I need to take some Tylenol. Or, wow, I want to make sure that I'm feeling really healthy and fit and my best in 6 months when I'm gonna run a marathon. So I'm going to preemptively start taking these vitamins and, whatever, drinking lots of water. So the core difference is a painkiller is a need to have. It solves an immediate problem. The vitamin is a nice to have. Like, sure, it could certainly augment, but it's generally speaking a result you're going to see farther down the line. The way you sell them, the way you message around them is very different. With the vitamin, it's like, hey, we want to tell you that you're putting this like great natural thing in your body that over time is going to make you a better, and it's creating an aspiration to a future state. The painkiller, it's like these people have a problem. They're looking for a solution. They're at the drugstore looking through the shelf. They want it now. They want rapid relief. And again, this relief might be, oh my God, our burn rate, we're only going to live for another 4 months if we don't raise money. We need this and we need it fast. It could be your client. That's an internal type one. It could be, there's lots of things. I'm probably belaboring this point. I think you guys probably get this right now. Now, the reason we talk about the painkiller or the vitamin is you can have an amazing message. You can have that whole messaging framework all filled out. But if you do not have a painkiller, there's not that hook, that excitement, that's, wow, these people can fix this thing for me now. I need to act. So we want to make sure that a painkiller is defined and understood and part of the story you tell and part of your message. Okay, so this is where I'm going to attempt, I've never done this before, I'm going to attempt to go out of presentation mode. Hopefully you guys can still see everything. And we're just going to play with that last one that I did. So as a quick reminder, before, this was a modern digital platform. This is what it did, right? They were a premier tech provider. They were cutting edge. They enhanced efficiencies. People do their jobs better. We already know that it was inventory. Now, if you go back to, okay, here's my blank slide. Wish me luck. And let me just move that out of the way. Can you guys still see the blank slide or no?
No, it's down now.
Okay, all right, let me go unshare and reshare. I should have known this was going to be all kinds of fun.
No problem.
Let's see, let me share. All right, I'm going to share my entire screen. Let's hope that my daughter or nobody's going to send me some kind of fun video or something at the same time. And we don't need animation in here. So let me just, personally, I think this is very brave of me to be doing this. So fingers crossed and please be kind.
It is very brave.
It's like anytime you give a demo, right? It's like a sure thing that you're going to lose connectivity and it's going to crash or whatever it may be.
That's
Okay,
all good.
so So if we go back to the fact that you have to do 80-20, we do not have 80% of the research done, but we did a little bit of research on your behalf. Because again, this is a real business. So if we say what is it? I'm just going to take a couple little notes in here. What it is, it's actually a retail inventory system. Okay, so this is specifically built for retail. It's not necessarily built for large, small, mid-size, but it's a retail inventory system. Who? Because the only other information we really have so far is we know it's retail. That's all we have. And the reason we're doing it this way is you as a startup very, very often are not going to have all the answers, despite the amount of research you do, right? So if we look at the why, the why they do it better, you kind of can't do that without a lot of the competition, but you know, we're just going to stay, we're smarter and faster and more affordable. So that's very generic. That being said, there are some things that might not be in your core message, but that do need to be in your secondary and in all of your messaging because people want to know. They might think, wow, I really need a retail inventory system, but your stuff sounds so amazing. I'm assuming it's going to be unaffordable. So why should I even bother to talk to you? So it is important to put those things in there. So if we think about like the problem they solve, so what they really do, so if you think about a retail shop, let's say it's I'm completely dating myself. I'm going to use the example of the Gap, right? So let's just say you're going to go in and they want to sell the most t-shirts and sweatpants that they possibly can. So the problem they solve is currently, and the Gap probably pretend it's a startup like the Gap. They currently have somebody come up and they're like, wow, I really love that red t-shirt. Do you have it in a large? They're like, okay, hold on. They go into the back room, they come back out and they're like, no, but I have it in pink. And they say like, well, okay, I kind of like it in pink. You know, do you know if maybe another store has it? Then they go to the phone. So at this point, their kid's crying, they're annoyed, whatever it might be. They have left the store. They're like, forget it. I don't need the stupid t-shirt that badly. They're going to take those dollars that they were going to spend with you and they're going to go to the food court and like eat some pizza and ice cream, right? So that is money out the door. So that's one part. So, right? So that would be, I'm going to say, losing money because they can't find items customers want to buy. Okay, so that's like one. Another thing that inherently is going to happen then is that, you know, they can serve / help view. Can you tell I never took typing class or keyboarding as they call it now? They can help fewer customers because they're back helping someone else in the either in the warehouse or in the stock room or calling someone, so they can help fewer customers so they have less sales. So these are the problems. Now, obviously, we're going to want to flip these into solutions also, because really what they want to do is they want to sell more and give a better customer experience. So again, you'll notice we're talking about this from the perspective of the customer, not the retail inventory system company. So I'm going to sort of smash this together. So if you remember, we need to say what it is, who you do it for, what problem. So I'm going to say and this is not going to be like, you know, a 10 out of 10, but this is how you start. Our inventory platform, I also, unless you are a scientific or maybe biotech, certain things, we highly, highly recommend the most simple language possible. We don't have to say like scientific advancements and all kinds of like, you know, IP technology. Our inventory platform, who does it help? Helps retail businesses sell more. Okay, everyone's going to like that. By quickly getting what customers want in their hands, saving lost sales and increasing revenue. Okay, that might not be like the best one of all time, but can you see how this painkiller is a very specific thing that they can use as a hook for people versus a very broad statement? So if I copy this and go paste it next to the one I just did. So again, and I can now go back into presentation mode. Can you still see it? Awesome. If you just want to read these side by side quickly, I don't think there's going to be a lot of argument that, again, this certainly might not be, or isn't, I'll flat out say isn't flawless, but it's absolutely going to get more than the very small percentage of people that understood it before. Okay, so I'm actually almost done. I'm just trying to move our faces out of the way there so I can see. So once we get this painkiller, we turn it, go back to that messaging framework, put it in all these different pieces. So we understand, you know, here's the elevator pitch version of it. Here's versions of it that we're going to use in email. Here's versions we're going to use in ads on the website. The little pink dot on all of these outside ones is representing the consistency. There's huge statistics as to the revenue lost with the lack of consistency of messaging. And it doesn't mean it has to be the exact same word in every single place, but it takes a very small shift of a couple degrees off. And then people start to think, maybe I don't understand what they do. Maybe they can't really help me. And that becomes a big problem. So, last poll. Do you feel that your messaging, as we've discussed it today, do you feel that your messaging could be holding you back? I'd be thrilled if everybody answered, nope, we're crushing it. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I have no idea, either based on your role within the organization or simply that, you know, you don't have a message yet. You don't, you know, so feel free to say, I have no idea. There's nothing embarrassing about that. Okay, to the 21% of you, like, high five, please come, please send me a note. I would love to see your messaging. I'd love to recommend people to your organization. And again, I have no idea. That's that, you know, one of the things I'm gonna offer you in a minute is simply, okay, great. So here's a QR code. Can you pull that down? Here's a QR code, which is just going to bring you to like a super, super simple landing page that has like literally 2 fields in it. You can send us what you think is your messaging and we'll just do a quick checkup on it. You know, no cost, no stress, no pressure to do business with us. Just we are so passionate about startups, and this is such low-hanging fruit and has such huge impact to your business. We'd love to just look at it and give you some kind of quick feedback. And then if you want to go deeper, that's completely fine too. So that is actually the core of what I wanted to review today. And I know I went a little bit fast, but I wanted to have plenty of time to go into questions. So Victoria, did you want to add anything specific before we go into questions? You might be muted, I'm not sure.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted there. No, I mean, I think that, you know, having worked with so many startups over the last 12 years, you know, it's one of those areas where it feels like, especially in the land of AI, where people think they can just plop in some content, get a quick answer. I think the messaging often gets overlooked, and it typically tends to be one of those magical places where we do see the increase in sales, we do see the increase in raising funds, we do see it's easier to hire when you are actually getting that message as relevant and, in that painkiller statement, right? Like, why does it matter? I saw in some of the comments, people said, so what, right? The so what, why does this matter to me? And that's 100% right. That's what people are looking at when they're looking at your startup, when they're looking at your business. Why does it matter to them? Make it easy, make it digestible, make it simple. You might have the most complex technology in the world, and that's amazing, but distill it down, make it something they want. And I think you will find a lot of success there. So yeah, so why don't we jump to questions, Debbie?
I absolutely, but I have to say, I have to send a little shout out to Joe Matico. I was just looking at the chat for the first time. What is shapewear? That's awesome. Shapewear. But what's awesome is that even the answer still didn't tell you what they did. So I find that kind of awesome. Shapewear, if it's possible some women are more familiar with it, but it's a huge market. All it simply does, in the old days, it would be considered something like a girdle, right? Something that makes your shape more compelling. But that's such an amazing example of the fact that it's shocking how you think everybody knows, and sometimes even the answer that you think it is. So it's something we didn't really speak about here, is that it is extremely important to remember that your brand and your message is, it's a live, ongoing animal, that you do not set it and forget it. You can find out, wow, I thought this was I worked so hard, I did all the right things, I thought this was going to resonate, and you might have to shift it around a little bit. Okay, so I don't know, Skylar, I don't recall how you do questions.
No, it's all good. So the first thing is, I know we had a couple of people wanting to go back to the QR code, if you wouldn't mind going back to that so they could scan it.
You got it.
Yeah,
and we'll also
question.
email it to you.
I also added the link in the chat too.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so perfect. Look out for that link from Victoria. She said she put it in there. And then another question is, what would you like them to send you to review? Is it their pitch deck? Is that helpful?
You get, well, if it's so on the page, on the landing page, there's a little paragraph. If you want to throw in either your URL, or if you want to throw in your elevator pitch, and then, because we'll have your email, then we can kind of circle back with you. If you're like, hey, I'd love you to look at my pitch deck, fantastic. Just leave that as a comment, and then we'll reach out to you and then get that.
Yeah, so, and then
So Debbie, there's one good question in chat that I think is worthwhile speaking about, because I know I mentioned it a second ago, is, do you recommend running messaging through AI to see what it produces?
We have actually taught a masterclass on AI, and we believe that AI can be an incredibly strong tool. I personally, and we as a business, do recommend, if you really, really struggle with blank paper, for example, you certainly can say, hey, here's some poor things I do. Can you write me an example? Can you, you can sort of use it as a research tool, something to kind of, get you going. We absolutely do not recommend that you ask AI to create your message and then decide to pop that up, into your marketing materials. There's
a lot of nuances there. Yeah, there's a lot of nuances that AI misses, and it really comes into the psychology of your target market, of those kind of pain points, of those things that keep them up at night. So while it can be kind of a fun sandbox, right, to play with, and you'll feel really good, oh wow, I just got a couple sentences, right, I'm done. I think you will find when you put that out in the marketplace, you'll still get some of those kind of tilted dog faces that we had kind of throughout the presentation, because again, you want to get something very visceral that people are like, oh yes, I need that right now. Like, that's really where you're going with.
And the last piece I'd say on the AI is that some of it depends on how expert you are at prompt development. So an AI prompt, for those that aren't familiar, is simply a very, very simple one. Might be like, from the perspective of a startup that sells t-shirts, please include that we are selling them to women, and write a core messaging statement. So that is a prompt, basically just telling it what to do. So, if you have deep AI experts who can actually compile all kinds of research and all kinds of data and write extremely complicated prompts, we would encourage it a little bit more. But
it could be a good, I mean, but it's still an input, right?
yeah, it's an input.
Unfortunately,
Exactly.
I wish there was an easy way to just get to the answer. Trust me. Debbie, there's some other really good questions in here.
If
Do
you
you
could help
recommend,
call them for me, that'd be great.
yeah, do you recommend doing messaging testing on social media?
Um, I guess that answer to that would depend a little bit on where you are in the messaging process and where you are as an organization. So if you have 30 social followers and you're just barely starting out, there might not be any quote harm in doing that. You're most likely not going to be speaking directly to your target audience. The message, the information and data you're going to get back is really maybe going to be a thumbs up or a comment. So
It's a little bit, it's also something too. I think that once you have that framework and you have that foundation, that's where you go into, okay, now let's apply that to the actual marketing channels, right? So Debbie, it's that slide that you had, right, with all those arrows, even though it was pointing to the website. Essentially, how does this painkiller then translate into maybe a social media post, maybe a social media ad? And that's where I think you can kind of gauge a little bit of, okay, if we frame this with this image, it gets a little bit deeper into that kind of testing. But in terms of doing the discovery, if through social media you have fantastic engagement, and as Debbie said, your people are actually going to respond to you, it's great to kind of get a little bit more of understanding of that target market. Why would this be relevant to them, or what are their real pain points, right? So that way you can address them in your messaging.
Absolutely.
Here's another really great one, and it's a really important one too. Are there specific considerations for startups in their messaging if their target markets are both domestic and international?
Yes, but I would say this is something that you might, if you are going after those markets, I'd be somewhat curious, and I don't know if you want to answer this or not, we can just speak to it more broadly. I'd be somewhat curious the stage of your organization, because quite frankly, it's very often that an international audience, say you're in your seed kind of part of your journey, that's a pretty large audience, and they're going to have very different perspectives. There are going to be different words you're going to use. Also, I'm sure although this is a little bit more advertising than messaging, some of the things, if anyone is familiar with Spanish, no va means doesn't go. And a kind of comical one that always comes up when you're in kind of like advertising 101 class is Chevy came up with the Chevy Nova. And out any place internationally or where it was Spanish speaking, people were like, why would I buy a car whose name was doesn't go? So that's a name versus a message. But yes, there's definitely considerations that all relate to those specific areas of, the audience. There might be challenges that people have internationally that you can solve that are already solved for if your client's in the US. So yeah, there's definitely a difference, and happy to talk about that more in more detail offline.
Yep. All right, I'm just kind of jumping around here. Let me see. Oh, there was another one.
I do see Peter Billingsley sent a note to everybody, which is really great. As part of the messaging, there has to be something about the team, the founder, the CEO, there's the balance, etc. Showing competency and expertise about not the all about me. And at the risk of not, okay, I am able to go backwards. This is a little bit where, let me go to, okay, so this is a little bit where if you think about the messaging framework, we're going to have absolutely, you want to build trust and credibility. Like, for example, what's one of the first things I said, right? We're startup marketing experts. We've helped over 100 startups. So and then we do when we're doing when we're speaking about Buzzy Rocket, we speak about the fact that, Victoria has managed X amount ad budgets. Victoria founded her own marketing analytics technology startup and raised $34 million. I've held this role. So you want to absolutely speak about, particularly in investing, when you're trying to do a raise, but really everywhere, you absolutely want there to be trust and credibility that, depending on what you're going to market with, sometimes there's value to having that in your actual core message UVP. Often you can put that into what I would say moving down to the elevator pitch, which is really more like 2 to 3 paragraphs. And it might be something that includes, we've made the car company, right? Like, we've founded 3 engine companies. We have 12 PhDs, and our CEO has done this, that, and the other thing. People are going to have a sense of comfort. And putting my sales hat on for a minute, because I actually also have a background running worldwide sales in public and private startups. Every single thing your marketing is doing is, if you think about your customer journey from the first time they ever hear about you, the customer life cycle, all the way through to when they don't have a need for your solution anymore. So you're going to drive awareness, you're going to connect, you're going to attract, convert, and retain customers. Every single thing your messaging should do is get rid of as many obstacles, remove as many steps, and shorten the sales cycle as much as possible. So to your point, Peter, if you're already removing all of these objections about the team or whatever, that can pull 2, 3, 4 steps out of the sales cycle, which means you're getting money in the door faster, is what's it all about.
Yeah,
that was just a random one I read, but
hey, Debbie, can you put up our last slide with our emails? Because I think people have some really good questions and points. And obviously we have the barcode in there, but then feel free to email us as well.
Yep.
I threw
our
mine.
very, very complicated emails, Debbie@Victoria@. And for those of you that are not familiar with our team, we also have amazing graphic designers, developers, copywriters. So if there are questions that go into like deeper expertise in this area, we're happy to pull other team members to help answer questions also.
Great. And I think that, and I think we'll do just one more real quick, just for the sake of time. And thank you guys for being so engaged, because this has been fantastic. And it is a very messaging, like I said, always feels simple. And then when you start pulling back the layers, and there are all these different pieces, and of course you would always layer different stories on there. But somebody did highlight, which is important, if I send it to one person, I'm just getting your opinion. If I'm sending it to another person, I'm getting their opinion. You can't please everyone. And I think that's a really important point, because you're not trying to please everyone. You are trying to easily communicate the problem that you solve. And yes, when you get to that investor piece, you are going to make it a little bit wider, and you're going to try to showcase how you're the only one who can solve this problem. And that's why you should be getting investments. That's why you're going to be a unicorn. However, when you're also then talking to your customers, they don't really care how complex your stuff is. I just want you to solve my problem, right? Like, just fix it. And I think that as entrepreneurs and as marketers, we just have to be cognizant of, because I'm not here just trying to make you happy. I'm here trying to solve your problem. And so, as Debbie said, let's shorten the sales cycle. Let's make it, much easier for you to have conversations about your business. And I think you will find the success that we have seen with the startups that we've worked with over the years, if you can kind of follow those steps. But please reach out over email, and I'll let you wrap up, Debbie.
Sure. A couple other quick things in that vein is, it's always scary as a startup to say no, right? So if you need to get deals in the door and someone's like, hey, can you solve my problem? Think about the example of the people going into the storehouse or making the phone call, and then the person walks out the door when they're looking for that t-shirt. In that example, you absolutely can say yes to people that are not in the absolute, your perfect answer. And sometimes you have to, like, if you need to keep the doors open, we respect that. We get it. Startup life is hard in so many ways. But if you then start to kind of serpentine left and right, you're also missing the opportunity to really get more people that you can deliver the strongest value, which then becomes scalable and repeatable, which becomes more profitable. So all of these, business pieces kind of go together in that way. Yeah, and I know we're kind of wrapping on time, so I'll hand it to you in a minute, Skylar, but in case it's not obvious, we absolutely love doing this, and we would be thrilled to talk to anybody who has questions or needs help. So, Skylar, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Debbie and Victoria. And I know we had so many great questions in the chat. So feel free to email the Buzzy Rocket team. Their emails are on the screen. And I hope that you can reach out to them with all of your other questions, because they are more than happy to help, and they're an awesome company. So we're really glad that they could do the masterclass today. And just a reminder to everyone that we will send this video out to all of you so you can rewatch it or share it with anyone else who might be interested. And we will also include Debbie and Victoria's emails on that email to make sure that you have a way to get in contact with them. So with that, we will wrap up the class today. I want to thank everyone for joining and hope to see you at one of our events in the future soon.
Sounds
Thanks
great.
all.
Thanks, everybody.
Great,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye.